All right.
I think we're just waiting for.
Lewis is trying to go.
Okay. We're gonna give it a few, gonna give it about a minute. Lewis is logging in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no worries. All right, so we'll get going with the call to order. Welcome to the Design Review Board meeting for June 25th. It's 5 p.m. My name is E. Marabouda. Sarah, would you please call the roll, please?
Board Member Coveney,
Here.
Board Member Weil,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Neve,
Here.
Chair Bauta.
Here.
And if I may, Chair Bauta, just chime in to ask Board Member Weil, I'm confirming that you're present at 17311 West Glendale Avenue in Waddell, Arizona, 85355.
Yes, ma'am.
And then is any member of the public present with you?
Just me, the dogs, and the cows.
Okay, great. I will. And let us know, let the chair know during the meeting, please, if anybody should become present from the public.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that. We will continue with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will lead today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next we'll continue with the description of the meeting procedure. We'll start the meeting with public communications, and that's where any member of the public can come up and speak on anything that is in the purview of the Design Review Board. That's not on tonight's agenda. We will next go to the consent calendar where the board will review and vote on any previous meeting minutes. Next, we will review any modifications to the agenda order. Then we will proceed to the regular order of business. For the regular order of business, I will introduce an item, the address, and any other entitlement numbers. The applicants will take their seat here in the front. The board will give their ex parte disclosures, which are communications that we've had with people prior to tonight's hearing regarding an agenda item. The staff will then present the summary presentation. We will then have a chance to ask questions of staff. I will then declare the public meeting open. The applicants will have 5 minutes to present. The members of the public will have 2 minutes each, depending on the number of members we have in the community. We may make modifications to that. The applicant will then have 2 minutes for a rebuttal. Once that's complete, the board will move the opportunity to ask questions of staff, the applicant team, or members of the public. Once complete, I will close the public meeting. Then the board commences deliberations. During deliberations, any action is initiated by the board by motion, a second, and a majority of the board. The applicant or any member of the public who lies within 300 feet of the project who disagrees with the decision of the board will have 14 days from the decision tonight to file an appeal. So I will start off with public comment. Anything that's not on tonight's agenda that anyone in the public wishes to comment, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, I will close the public comment and then move to the consent count or modifications of the agenda order. I see no need for a modification, so we'll stick with the agenda order as presented on the meeting agenda for tonight. Moving on to the consent calendar, I'd like to pull item number 5.1, design review 2026-0375 and coastal development permit 2026-0413 for the site located at 31461 Coast Highway. Like to make a motion for approval of the meeting.
If I may, Chair, about to suggest that you check if there are any public comments on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Jane. Are there any public comments pertaining to the items on the consent calendar? This is for item number 4.1, which is 31461 Coast Highway. Correct. Yeah, that'll be part of the regular order of business. Okay, seeing no comments, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-0375, approving design review 2026-0375 and coastal development permit 2026-0413 for the property located at 31461 Coast Highway and find said action consistent with the mitigated neck deck. Do I need to do that the number as number 20160311094 adopted by Design Review Board on September 1st, 2016?
I second.
Board Member Coveney,
Yes.
Board Member Weil, Board Member Weil,
Is he muted?
Okay,
You're muted.
So Board Member Weil, if you're out there and can hear us, you are muted. So if you try to unmute and then cast your vote.
oh, maybe we'll abstain his vote and continue if we can't get him. We'll just put him as abstain for now, Sarah, and if he chimes in later, we could always correct the record.
okay, Chair Pro Tem Neve
Yes.
and Chair Bauta.
Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
There we go.
Okay,
All right.
there he is.
So Lewis is counted as a yes, so that's 4. Moving on to our regular order of business. For design review item 2026-0922, variance 2026-0923 for the site located at 31552 Eagle Rock Way. This is item number 5.1 for tonight's agenda. Ex parte disclosures.
Yes, I visited the site and corresponded with Horst.
I did the same.
Same.
Thank you. Staff, will you please present your summary presentation? Thank you, Kate.
Good evening, Design Review Board and members of the public. I'm Kate Kazama, and item 5.1 is a request to construct lower and upper level additions, landscaping, new window and door openings, and new vehicular access for the creation of one on-site parking space at 31552 Eagle Rock Way. The subject property is located within the Village Community Zone, also known as the South Laguna Village neighborhood, in an area characterized by small lots, limited open space, non-conforming setbacks, and deficient on-site parking. Many of the lots in the neighborhood, including the subject property, contain a 35-foot wide roadway easement, which reduces the buildable area of the property. The project site is currently developed with an approximately 1,140 square foot home with no on-site parking. Existing nonconformities include existing building encroachments into all required setbacks. This slide illustrates the proposed site plan. The applicant is proposing 424 square feet of additions shown in purple, consisting of 252 square feet at the lower level and 172 square feet at the upper level. This proposal is intended to modernize and improve the functionality of the existing residence. Additional improvements include new window and door openings on the north, west, and south elevations, modified landscaping, and new vehicular access for the creation of one on-site parking space shown in yellow. The existing elevated deck facing Eagle Rock Way would cantilever over the proposed parking space. In order to construct the additions, the proposal requires approval to exceed the allowable building site coverage by 1.6%, or approximately 25 square feet, and exceed the maximum allowable floor area by approximately 40 square feet. Variance approval is also required to allow the addition to encroach into the required south side setback by 2 feet, permit the proposed parking space within the front yard setback, and only provide 1 on-site parking space where typically 2 spaces are required. This slide shows the existing and proposed street elevations. The left-hand images illustrate the view from Wildwood Road, and the right-hand images illustrate the view from Eagle Rock Way. To accommodate the upper-level addition and reduce the perception of massing, approximately 77 square feet of existing elevated deck area would be removed, as shown on the left-hand images. The additions are generally proposed on the west side of the property and extend the existing structure towards Wildwood Road and the neighboring property to the south. The project would maintain the existing maximum roof height of 21 feet 6 inches and retain the existing contemporary design by incorporating materials and colors consistent with the existing home. These are the existing and proposed east and south elevations, which both face neighboring properties. The proposed project complies with applicable development standards, and staff is able to make the required findings for the design review, excess building site coverage and floor area, and variance requests. Overall, staff finds the project to be compatible with the neighborhood and would not adversely impact view equity and privacy. The city did receive 1 letter in opposition of the project this morning. And to conclude, staff's recommendation tonight is for the board to adopt resolution 2026-0922 approving the project. This concludes my presentation. I am available to address any questions.
Thank you, Kate. Do any of my fellow board members have questions for staff?
No.
No questions. We will move forward with public comment is declared open. Applicant team, you will have 5 minutes for a presentation.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chair Bada and Design Review Board members. Nice to be here this evening. Horst Knoppenberger, project architect for Adam McNichol, the property owner, sitting to my left. And Kate, thank you for that very detailed, project description. This is a neighborhood that, means a lot to me. We lived in that neighborhood for 25 years. I think Eagle Rock is probably one of the most sort of, whimsical and, very special street in Laguna. So we wanted to do something, really interesting, something that would complement the, character of that part of South Laguna. When Adam first contacted me, we kind of walked around the neighborhood, and, one of the things that became, apparent to us very quickly is that, quite a few of the houses had that, the same sort of proximity to, to the street, to Wildwood, and Adam's house was actually quite set back further. So, we thought that there would be an opportunity to, be able to accommodate Adam and his family. It's a family of 4 living in an 1,100 square foot house. So we saw that as an opportunity to, make an expansion of the house that would be consistent with the pattern of development. I think we do have a couple slides. We could just go through them quickly, maybe. Okay, this is the, the elevation from the corner. We tried to balance the desire to increase the size of the house with, creating some, components that would kind of give back to the neighborhood. There was no on-site parking, so we're proposing 1 on-site parking space. Next slide, please. These are just, quickly, graphic representations of where we're proposing. This is the lower level where we're proposing to add the additional habitable floor area. Next slide, please. This is the upper level, where that additional floor area is being proposed. Next slide. And this is the area where we're proposing to provide on-site parking where parking does not currently exist. The large tree that's off Eagle Rock is proposed to be maintained, so this parking space would not have any impact on the tree. Next slide, please. Oh, these are just showing where the side yard, setback and the existing side yard setback encroachment occurs. Next slide, please. And then Adam's property is the circle in green, and the other sort of adjacent properties that have either received similar variance approvals for encroachments into side yards, given the small size of these properties, are shown in the red color. So, the point that we're hoping to make is that, what we're asking for is sort of, imprinted, into the pattern of development. And in many cases, these are, rights or privileges enjoyed by others. Next slide. And these, Adams property again is in green. Pretty much all of the properties on Wildwood to the end of Wildwood are exceeding the allowable lot coverage. And that's what this diagram depicts. Next slide, please. I've always loved that area of South Laguna. It's very rustic. So, we are proposing a material palette of white painted brick, a corrugated metal roof, quite a bit of wood on the outside to sort of, harmonize with, with the rustic character of South Laguna. Next slide. And that may be it, I think. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Horst. We will now move to members of the public. If you wish to speak on item 5.1, please come up to the podium.
Hope I didn't know you did 2 minutes. I hope I get a little extra time.
No problem.
Thank you. I've been involved in planning in South Laguna since 1971. And part of this effort was to deal with Tract 849 and its unusual development pattern, which resulted from the developers in the 1930s dividing the properties, the 125-foot long lots into 3 lots, one 45 feet long and each one further 40 feet long. And that pattern exists throughout the village area. And this zone was made specifically to deal with those unusual lot configurations. And we were faced with the small lots not having a backyard, not having a front yard. And so because we couldn't provide the usual 20 feet on either side, we put in the code that there would be 5 feet of setback all the way around. And that's the only way to get a little bit of extra open space for the houses there. So there may be some pre-existing encroachments. There may be unusual configurations of other houses, but we're trying to at least get that amount of open space, and that's in the code. It is also not unusual. The condition of this lot with its street easement on Wildwood is exactly what all the other houses on other streets in South Laguna have. So to look at it as an impediment to and a reason for a variance is a faulty conclusion, because it is not an unusual situation. It is the way that whole area is designed. So we oppose, South Laguna Civic Association opposes the front yard setback variance and also the excess over the square footage. If the project were designed to a 1,500 square foot limit, they would not need a variance for parking either. Only one car would be required. They wouldn't need that variance. So we feel that the 2 variances, the front yard setback variance and the parking variance, are self-induced conditions that they could avoid by making some adjustments to the plan. We're also concerned about the appearance of the facade on Wildwood. It's very tall and very plain, and there's only, with the variance, there's only 3 feet to plant in front of it. It's not going to be harmonious with the rest of the street. Where people have encroached, they're often our porches or decks, stairwells, small portions of the facade encroach, not a whole large two-story straight up and down building. So I would argue that this building is not neighborhood compatible in its appearance from the street. So I think the Design Review Board should ask for a redesign and for reducing the square footage so that the parking variance is not needed and the encroachment on Wildwood is not required.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to speak? Come on up to the podium.
Hi, I've lived on Wildwood for 20 years. I went through design review myself, and as my neighbor, he's relatively new to the neighborhood compared to me, but he has a growing family, and they're a beautiful, beautiful family. We love having them on the street, and I think when you buy a house in South Laguna and you want to remodel it, you know you're going to be faced with variances. All neighbors understand that, and you try to accommodate as best as you can so that those people can continue enjoying that house and also improve it as needed. So while there are some technical points that Anne brought up, I think the overriding thing is many houses have been remodeled on Wildwood. I went very traditional with mine, but there are other modern facades that don't technically fit with the character and the general feel of South Laguna. So I think I don't think it's overly offensive, is my point. And I understand the family wanting to live in the home they bought and continue to enjoy the neighborhood. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak on item 5.1? Seeing none, we will return to the applicant for a 2-minute rebuttal.
Thank you. We do really appreciate the, comments that the neighbors have expressed this evening. We started this project a long time ago with a neighborhood meeting, and, Ann Christoph was at that meeting, and we had, we had a discussion, around this, similar to the discussion we're having this evening. And, I think we had probably 12 neighbors at that meeting, and everybody, similar to the gentleman who just spoke last, kind of acknowledged that these particular properties in South Laguna are very small. And, as a community, we're trying to keep, families, in these neighborhoods. So we, we feel, and I believe, I can't speak for the other neighbors, but the discourse that we had with the neighbors was very different than what Ann expressed this evening. It was, everybody understood that these properties on Wildwood are constrained, that Adam's property is set back much further on Wildwood than every other house on the street, including Ann Christoph's house, which, my understanding is that her house is also encroaching into the required setback from Wildwood, as is every other house, on the street. So, we tried to give back a little bit by creating the parking space, which currently does not exist. Having lived in that neighborhood, I know that this time of the year, you've got the entire Eagle Rock all the way up to Mar Vista at the top. People are parking there, so parking really is an issue. So, we're asking for the variance. We are very confident that the legal findings for the variance have been met. What we're asking for is consistent with the pattern of development, and probably most importantly, what we're looking at is as a family that would like to continue to live in the beautiful neighborhood. They're currently, once again, in an 1,100 square foot house, and we're trying to get that up to just a little bit over 1,500, for a family of 4. So I don't feel that that's unreasonable, and we really do appreciate your support.
Thank you, Horst. So we will, do any members of the board have any questions of the applicant or any members of the public? No questions. We will close the public comment and the board will enter into discussion and deliberation. Does anyone want to begin?
I'll begin.
Thank you, Debbie.
I'll begin with a question for legal. I know that in reading the letter from the South Laguna Association, there was some concern that the variances had been grouped. And so if you could just address that to put that on the record, that would be great.
Yes, thank you for the question. So when multiple variances are requested, it's not necessary that there be separate application forms for each variance. It's important that each development standard that is triggering a variance be analyzed and considered in terms of the findings for a variance. But just like there could be several items that trigger design review, there can be several items that trigger a variance, and the city still considers that as part of one application.
Thank you. I like for that clarification. And then I'll go ahead and deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that when I visited the site too and walked around the neighborhood, I think that there's, it's a beautiful house already, and it's already a modern house. And I think that your request for 400, little over 400 square feet is quite modest. I appreciate that you are moving that you're getting one parking spot. I think that that's necessary, certainly. And I appreciate staff for pulling together, all the variances and the lot line coverage issue, pulling that neighborhood compatibility slide, or if that was you, the applicant team. I think that helps a lot. With these small lots in that whole area, and appreciate what Ann had said regarding how they were all split up. You're trying to live, you're trying to expand just to make it livable. So I think that even though you do encroach into those setbacks, I think that staff has outlined the legal findings for those variances, and I agree with those variances as well. I think it's very important to try to have that one on site, and you only exceed the 1,500 square feet by like 60 feet. So I think that to try to say, okay, just to get under that number by whacking off, I don't know, 2 feet or whatever it would be, I think is just, not a very reasonable request to ask of you. So I can support all of the variances and your plans as presented this evening. Mhm.
Thank you, Debbie. MJ?
Yeah, I kind of struggled with this one because I always have to go back to criteria, because when I look at this, I see everybody wants what they want, but there's restrictions, and there's restrictions for a reason. So if you buy a small lot, you build a small house. It kind of goes hand in hand. So, but then I also look at it in the big picture of Laguna growing, and we wanting to get younger people in there, maybe people that can't afford the big lot with the big house, or have what they have and want to expand their family, and the impact of moving is huge. So there's all those kind of personal, thinky, broad community concepts that I play around with. But then I come back just to what my goal is here, which is the criteria. Do you meet criteria? And ultimately, in many cases, you don't. So I struggle because this area, South Laguna, is going to continually expand because these homes are the most affordable and people want to stay, so they find a way to grow. So where do we draw the line on that growth and the opportunity for the homeowner to have what they want? So overall, if I look at the homes that are surrounding this house, this design is compatible, especially the house next door and the couple more down the street that I noticed just in the things you highlighted. So it's definitely compatible. How those houses got there, I don't know. I don't know whether it was prior to design review. I know the one next door probably was on design review, but so I look at where it's sort of going, and then how do we control it so that it doesn't become just so overbuilt and a wall of homes down the street, all at beyond the setbacks, and it starts to look like a condo street. and then is Laguna Laguna. So this is, I'm just giving you my psyche that I have to deal with when I look at these things. So the setback issue, you're missing it obviously on most sides. I think that gives you a little breath, but I don't know if that really answers the call. I think it's sort of like taking your shoes off at the airport. I mean, it's like, did that really make a difference? But it sure did inconvenience a lot of people. So I'm not sure that the concept of the setback was good in the sense that they thought they were controlling how things grew. But when you lose a foot here, lose a foot there, it doesn't feel that much. If it was supposed to be a 10-foot setback and, you're only at 2, then we've got issues. But this was a 5-foot to a 3-foot. So I feel like we can make headway there. And sorry if I'm getting a little lengthy, I'm sort of working it out in my head. So that variance I was struggling with purely from mass and scale of this house on this corner. But I think the design is attractive and it supports the other homes on the street. So is it neighborhood compatible? Some yes, some no. But I do feel like that's where we're going. So should your homeowner be the one that starts to set a precedent of no building? I don't know if I can make that decision tonight. So I want to hear what my other board members have to say, but ultimately I feel like the variance for the parking, I think is good. Single parking's fine. Nobody has parking there. One nice thing about when you come before the board is we can fix some of the nonconformities at that time. Some of the other homes in Laguna really have abused, their nonconformities are huge, and we have an opportunity to change those when you come before the board. In this case, this is such a unique lot and such a unique part of Laguna. It's kind of tough because I totally understand why they want to go larger. I get that you've designed something that can fit in there, but in my mind, it still feels large for the lot. And I want to hear what my other board members have to say. So that's just sort of my pattern of my thinking.
Thank you, MJ. Louis?
Yeah, no, well said by the prior board members. I think I'm more aligned with the comments from board member Neve. It is hard to do stuff on some of these smaller lots and keep it in neighborhood compatibility. I think from the design, like board member Company said, it fits the neighborhood. It's clean. Yes, adding the parking space is probably something that should have been done with the last remodel, but I get why it's being asked for. I think it can be supportive. As far as the upper level expansion, it runs that line of completely maximizing the lot, but I'll go back to the comments of being kind of neighborhood compatible. I think the design can be supported, and I can support it this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis. MJ, you bring great points. One thing I was looking at on my end pertaining to the neighbor adjacent on Wildwood is the setback that I'm going to ask the question of the applicant. Is the setback that you're proposing equivalent to what is exists at 31562 Wildwood?
Would that be the adjacent house?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Adam and I saw when we stood on this property and started contemplating the design, is that house was out, about 7 feet further? And so we're, coming in line with
In
the
line,
house.
yeah. Yeah.
San Francisco row houses.
I see. On that face. And then, okay. So from what I gather, the added single space is warranted, and I think that it can be substantiated by the evidence. So that variance, I think, could be met. I think looking at it from a level by level standpoint, there's a 171 square foot upper level addition and a 251 square foot lower level addition. I think those are super modest. That's like a master closet compared to some of the homes we look at on the board. So that's the way I look at it. I think it is super modest addition. I think the 2 feet into the side yard setback, when we take into account the adjacent home, I think it would, it warrants it here tonight with conformity of the neighborhood. Not to mention just the adjacent home across the street. It seems like South Laguna and this part of South Laguna, they're all very continuous. Some of the older homes, the single stories, maybe they're set back a little bit further, but anyone that's coming before us that wants some program for a family, which, I can appreciate. I think there's a benefit to the community with the added parking space, but there's also a benefit to the applicant with the added square footage for a family of 4. I have no issues with the lot coverage being exceeded. I think it's very minimal. I also think there were measures taken to preserve the vegetation. Preserving that tree, I think, does a lot to sort of give the corner some relief. So that's what I was hoping for. I think for this home, I think the design meets neighborhood compatibility. I think it's well thought out. I think it meets the criteria for design review. I think also the findings can be made for the variances. And I could definitely approve this tonight. So I think we have consensus. MJ, I don't know if you're still on the fence or you're thinking of coming on.
I don't think it's an egregious, build here. I just feel, my concern is the long-term growth of this area. So it's like, where do you start to draw a line? But I mean, again, I think the house is designed well. I just think when it was so in line with the neighbors, it just seemed like, and it was so high at that turn, just felt imposing from a neighborhood compatibility criteria. I don't think I have answered you, but.
That's all right.
Katie, would you mind putting up the slide that, I'm sorry, Kate, I called you Katie. My niece is Katie. That shows all of the other variance requests and the houses that exceed the lot coverage. Thank you. I wanted to look at that corner there. Yeah.
Any way to zoom in to that corner? All right, it seems like we've got consensus. Do we have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to adopt Resolution 2026-0922, approving design review 2026-0922 and variance 2026-0923 for the property located at 31552 Eagle Rock Way, and find said action categorically exempt pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines, Section 15301 and 15305. And don't we, I guess.
And I would like to add, I'd like to adopt the revised attachment 1 resolution
Yeah.
2026-0922.
And I'll
Yes,
second that.
Sarah, please call the roll.
Board Member Coveney,
Yes, based on findings 1 and 2.
Board Member Weil,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Neve,
Yes.
Chair Bauta.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, moving to our next regular order of business, we have item number 5.2, Design Review 2025-0875 for a site located at 195 High Drive. Ex parte, please.
Yes, I visited the site and met with the applicant team and the owner.
And I just visited the site.
Visited the site.
I visited the site as well. Staff, Jessica, will you please present your presentation?
Yes, good evening, Chair and members of the Design Review Board. I'm presenting item 5.2. It's a request for design review approval for Design Review 25-0875 for the project located at 195 High Drive. The property is located in the R1 residential low density zone. It's on the corner of Linden Street and High Drive. Existing is a single family residence with an attached one-car garage constructed in 1946. The applicant proposes to remodel the existing single family dwelling. The project includes an interior remodel, upper and lower additions, trash enclosure, landscaping, decks, new fencing, and new windows and doors. The project was first heard on December 11th, 2025, where the board heard the item and expressed general support for the project, but also offered some of the following comments presented on the slide before you. One was the design integrity. They requested for revisions for the proposed material palette to better encourage to better reflect the character in the surrounding neighborhood through additional types of finishes and textures. Second was the neighborhood compatibility. There was certain concerns regarding the proposed materials that the applicant presented, which also included limited landscaping and the use of the iron fencing. Next would be the landscaping. Design Review Board wanted the applicant to enhance more of the landscaping around the home to soften more of the appearance and also add additional planting to lighten up the area where it reflects on High Drive and Linden Street, since it's a very visible corner lot. Next would be the vehicular access. It was recommended to the applicant to relocate the vehicular access from High Drive into the alley. Next would be the pedestrian access, recommending that the plans to be revised and reviewed to include a sidewalk that right on High Drive. Presented to you today, the applicant has considered the comments and revised the plans. Beginning with the iron fencing that was originally presented, the applicant has changed the design to propose a composite slat fencing that will complement the surrounding properties. Second, the landscaping, the applicant has proposed a new plant materials with added colors and textures for natural elements to the overall design. Third would be the design integrity and neighborhood compatibility. The applicant has proposed new colors and natural finishes that can enhance the landscaping. The next would be the vehicular access. The applicant did evaluate the alternative that was considered, presented, and commented by the Design Review Board. The applicant did determine that the alley access would not be feasible for their design due to some constraints of vehicle maneuverability limitations and functional garage access in the alley. The attachment that was created by the applicant is on attachment 3, if you would like to refer back to it. And based on comments and communication with their Public Works Department, Public Works staff has reviewed the findings that the applicant did present, and they support the conclusion that the alley access is not feasible as an alternative for the proposed garage. Next would be the pedestrian access. The high drive sidewalk that was originally commented by the design review board, it is not incorporated to this design because the project is not a major remodel and is not required to provide the sidewalk improvements. Here's showing the existing site plan and the proposed site plan, colored in yellow to represent the existing and purple to show the proposed locations of the new additions and the deck areas. The proposed floor plan showing the lower and the upper level, proposing new master bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchen areas, deck, and great rooms. The lower level additions will be complemented with 486 square feet, as the upper level additions is 649 square feet. Here is the north elevation. In the original design presented in the December design review board hearing, where the applicant did propose different materials like glass railing, less textures to the exterior of the building, limited landscaping. Here is the proposed new elevation, the new proposed design. The applicant has applied new textures, new accents to the exterior and around the garage, has omitted the glass railing and included a raw iron railing for the decking areas, reoriented the location of the trash enclosure as well. Here we have a color rendering to give you a better idea of what that would depict. Shows the roofing materials, the exterior stone veneer material, the location of the trash enclosure, and the applicant's concept to the landscaping. The landscape plan introduces more diverse and layered plant palettes. In the original submittal, the applicant proposed less landscaping, and if you see before the slide, there's new flowering plants, succulents, and accent vegetation to create more of a greater visual interest to the high drive and linden view of the property. In conclusion, the project meets all required findings to support for the approval today. The proposed structure is consistent with the neighboring properties and reflects design features that are very common within the vicinity. The project will not adversely affect the neighborhood character, style, or privacy, and staff did not receive any public correspondence. Staff recommends design review board to approve design review 25-0875, which is categorically exempt from CEQA guidelines sections 15301 and 15303. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Jessica. Do any members of the board have questions of staff?
I do.
Louis?
So Jessica, along the property line, are they redoing the retaining walls that are going to support kind of that uphill, topography, and remove the kind of the old, I guess, broken concrete retaining walls, or are those remaining?
Are you talking about the stone that's facing High Drive?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm still really confused, like, as to why no sidewalks being proposed. So I kind of want to understand the improvements that are also going along the landscape side.
Yes, so the applicant is maintaining the existing rock retaining wall on that side. What they would like to do is try to repair as much as it can. They would like to keep it, and repairing any like cracks or any missing stones. So they would like to just repair as they're not increasing the height. I know that there's the colored rendering. It may give an illusion that it's a lot higher, but it's actually they're just repairing and maintaining as the best I can. But for any additional details, I can refer you to the applicant and she can answer additional questions for that.
Okay. And then I guess to the applicant, like, are you guys amenable to putting in the sidewalk along the High Drive side from like the alley up to Linden?
Can, no, because this project is not a major remodel, so we don't think the owner have to do any sidewalk improvement.
Well, it's still within the design review board to kind of look at pedestrian access and pedestrian and even your own vehicular access around the site. I mean, I understand that this house has been dilapidated for a long time in its original structure. However, the neighborhood's developed around it, and I believe there's sidewalks on the uphill side of Linden and on the downhill side of Linden, or downhill side of the alley, along High Drive, with this project being, you know, significantly underdeveloped and coming in to develop. I think that's a needed component within the design review scope.
Okay, there are three reasons that the owner thought they do not they don't want to do the sidewalk improvement. The first one is this project is not a major remodel, so it doesn't trigger the
You already
site
said that.
improvement work.
But that didn't handle the
second-
question for design review.
Yeah, the second reason is they're actually they are not enough space to propose a new sidewalk because there are drainage vent. There are two vents and electricity poles along the property line. So if the owner do the sidewalk, they have to relocate those facilities. It is very costly.
Peggy,
I think you
yeah,
just
Lou-
going on and on.
And
But
Louis, so this is board questions of staff. We'll let Peggy present after this, if you're all right with that.
yes,
All right. So, any other questions to Jessica?
Jessica, I'm just, well, and perhaps, I don't know if it's for you or it's for the applicant, but I was trying to find some of the trees, you know, as far as the landscape plan. I know that it's been redone,
Yes.
and I see the one tree that we had talked about on site to protect that tree that's right on the property line.
Yeah.
Where are the other two trees?
They are two trees, two existing big trees, and the owner will remove one and remain the biggest tree, but do the trim. So currently the only one big tree will keep on the lots. So that the city require at least two trees?
Okay, maybe I'm not making myself clear.
Okay.
So on your landscape plan, you show 3 trees to retain, and I can't find where the other 2 trees
Okay,
are.
okay. So, yeah, they asked 2 small trees on the backyard.
Oh, in the backyard.
yeah, on the
Okay, maybe I
backyard.
didn't see.
Yeah.
I can't find them.
Yeah, the owner will plant 2 small new trees on the backyard.
Oh, you just didn't show it on here, is what you're saying? You didn't show it on here?
Let me ask the owner. 是不是你们后院卡不住了？没有，但是在那个 survey map 上有好多
Because it also says
在那
inches,
没
not
有
feet. Did you see that?
Yeah. We'll phone a friend action.
Okay. Uh, maybe so maybe that it's need to be correct.
I don't know.
All right, it sounds like
Okay,
there's,
okay, well, that's
well,
okay. I don't want to hold up the hearing,
Th-
for that.
thanks, Deb.
We'll look at it, yeah.
We'll open the public comment and we'll give the applicant team 5 minutes for their presentation. Peggy, you can begin.
Oh, okay. So, okay, okay. Yeah, good afternoon, Chair and DRB members. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to give a brief summarization on the revision of our plan for this second design DRB meeting. So this is the existing building. So our goals of our major main goals is to modernize the outdated experience and deteriorate standards and to improve the living conditions with the compliance with the code and neighborhood compatibility. Okay, so next. So this is the comparison between the first and the second revision. So there are 5 major improvements on the elevation. The first one, we added stone veneer decoration on the elevation, and we added window and door surrounding moldings to increase the exterior features. And we also increased the several size of windows, increase the size of 4 windows, can compare. And we also relocate the trash enclosure from the center of the lot to the right side. And we also added more landscaping features to enhance the land appearance. Okay, next. For the left side, the similar improvement. So we also continued the stone veneer and the window trim. Also, we revised the size of 2 windows to have a better portion of the elevation, and we also canceled the fence along the high drive and to provide a more clear and open experience. We also added you see, more landscaping features. And next. And for the rear side, we also added a stone veneer decoration and the window and door surrounding moldings. We revised the glazing and guardrail to wrought iron. And we also and we revised the wrought iron fence to composite wood siding. And we added more landscaping also the more landscaping features. So we also enhanced the landscaping design. There are we introduce more plants and more the colorful pavers and coverings, and also the more material land cover materials. Okay. So we also studied the neighborhood architecture features, and we try to harmonize with the neighbor buildings. So we adopt the window moldings and stucco colors, and also the window framing and stone veneer.
Thank you. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
No.
Testing. Okay. Thank you, Peggy. You'll have additional time. We'll now open to members of the public. If you wish to speak, please come to the podium. Seeing none, applicant team, you'll have 2 more minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, so I would like to give a conclusion that we revised the proposal to fully complies with the applicable development standards and the DRB requirements. And more importantly, compared with our previous submittal, the design has been improved through enhanced architectural detailing, increased landscaping, and improved the neighborhood compatibility. So we sincerely appreciate all the comments and guidance provided by the board and the staff throughout the review process. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
Yeah.
So we will move to board questions of the applicant. Any questions of the applicant? I've got a question, Peggy. On the one of the comments I gave on the hearing on December 11th was pertaining to the 2-story high atrium in the front not being neighborhood compatible. It looks like no modifications were made to that. Did you have any reasons why that was the case? That 2-story high overhang at the front of the properties hasn't changed. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to comment on pertaining to that.
Do you mean the main entrance?
The entrance, yeah. It's 2 stories, and
Yeah.
you know, from what I gather, all of the adjacent neighbors are all single-story overhangs.
We prefer to maintain the previous design because we think the 2-story covered porch is one of the architectural features of this building, and it looks like it has an open and more like a beautiful and more attractive. It's attractive features.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering my question. Any other questions?
I've got one. So for the fencing, I'm a little confused on the fencing along, I guess, Linden. How tall is it and how long does it run? Obviously it connects with the gate, but how tall is that fencing proposed and what's the material?
It's about 4 feet height, and the material is composite wood. Composite wood slat.
Okay, like the rear of the property?
Yeah, in front of the
along the Linden Street, and stop at the High Drive.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it's along the front
Yeah,
on Linden,
yeah, yeah.
on Linden.
Yeah.
And I have a question. Well, I was kind of zeroing in, and we talked a little bit about the landscaping when I was on site and we talked to you. And the one very large tree that's on the property line, I know that the neighbor is concerned that that tree not be damaged.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And so I'm concerned that with you putting your trash enclosure right there, you know, because of the concrete and all of that, that could compromise that tree. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to move it closer to the street, the trash enclosure closer to the street, so that you, in other words, flip it. See how you have all of your flowers and everything on, you know, street side of the trash container, and maybe if you have that more, you know, where it's a pervious surface, and you can have. I'm afraid that tree's going to die with all the concrete there and all the trash enclosure right there at that tree. So I'm wondering if you would move that closer into the yard part, closer to Linden.
Okay, cause the trash enclosure has to keep 20 feet away from the.
Oh, it has to be
property line.
20 feet away
Yeah,
from the.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, that is the.
That's why.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's why.
And I
Got it.
can add a note about for the trash enclosure to make sure the concrete wall will not damage the root.
So it's right at the 20-foot.
Yeah.
Is that where it
yeah,
is?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I can add a note to make sure the wall avoid the to touch the
Or
trees.
maybe, you know, I'm not sure what that material is. Maybe if it's, you know, decomposed granite rather than, I don't know if it's decomposed granite or whether it's concrete. Maybe I can get a clarification on that so that it's not, you know.
I was going to suggest for
Yeah.
the board's consideration, if, you know, the consensus should move in the direction of that comment, Board Member Neve, that staff could certainly work with the applicant on finding
To
an
work-
alternative location. Obviously, if it can't move closer to the street, there's an opportunity perhaps to move it either off the property line, away from the tree, further back a little bit.
Right.
Certainly, you know, I think we understand your concern.
I would
about the health of
appreciate
the
that.
tree. With the size of the tree that's there, obviously, we've got probably some substantial roots as well. Those
Exactly.
roots are going to go either deep or spread out far. So,
Yeah.
you know, we can certainly heed that comment and work with them to find
I
more.
I
appropriate
appreciate
location for
that.
you.
That's kind of where I'm going with that. Because once you put the fencing there and the trash enclosure and, you know, you're digging the
And
posts and the, you know, all that kind of
foundations,
stuff.
right,
And I don't know whether we condition to protect the tree, if that makes it a little more rigorous, to protect that tree in place. That was the one concern of the neighbor of that tree. And on the landscaping plan too, and I know it's a little confusing because of the trees aren't shown, and the trees are I guess, the other existing trees or imaginary trees, they're not there. And in the plan, it says like 56 inches, not feet. So I was just a little bit, maybe work with staff to kind of clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, I can work with her.
Yeah.
Just kind of wanted to note that on the site plan, they do show those two trees,
Oh, they
but they're on the site plan, but not the
Oh.
landscape plan. So I will
Oh,
make sure that
okay.
on the landscape plan, they have those two
Perfect.
trees.
Great. And I think the landscape plan maybe, you know, something got transposed or something, because it says like size 56 inches, 25 inches, 18 inches, you know, on those under size. So I'm not sure what that means. You know, if
Okay.
that, I guess that's the size of the trunk or something, maybe that's the size of the
Yeah,
trunk.
it sounds like.
Okay, that sounds like the size of the
They
trunk.
need some clarity on the.
Yeah, so
landscape.
just a little bit of clarity of that. It sounds like it's on some stuff and not the others. And I'm not sure if you require, maybe you don't require a lighting plan, but I would just ask that because this is kind of in a dark corner area, that lighting, certainly we have a night sky ordinance that's in effect, but just to be sensitive to only egress lights and like with step lights every fourth step and things like that, to really have it at the minimum, because certainly.
Yeah,
for
I think
safety.
I'd like to see that reflected on the landscape plan too.
Yeah, and maybe that's
Yeah.
on the add that to the landscape plan if
Yeah.
possible. I think that would be great. Those are my key.
You all ready for deliberations? Any other questions?
I think those are my only questions.
Yeah, we will prepare a landscaping light plan after, during we.
Right, you can work with
Construct-
staff to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, good. And since this was not your first rodeo, guys, I'd like you guys to go first.
Yeah.
As far as deliberation.
Yeah, I'll go first. So,
To have the
there
background.
there were two elements I think that we pointed in the direction at the start of this meeting pertaining to the sidewalk access. That was definitely a comment that was shared by other board members on the first hearing. It doesn't appear to be accommodated in this hearing, so I think that's important that that meets that standard for, pedestrian access. That's one of the 16 criteria for this board's purview. One of the other elements was that two-story atrium. I don't believe it's neighborhood compatible. I think it's to me, it doesn't belong in, it doesn't look like it belongs in that neighborhood, right? It's a two-story atrium. There isn't any other home along High Drive that has a two-story atrium entry. There's not another home on the adjacent cross street as well. So those are kind of two big ticket items. I think we were very clear on the first hearing that they needed to be accommodated. It also sounds like there needs to be a lighting plan and a landscape plan, and some of the drawings and elevations still remain a little bit unclear. Pertaining to the criteria and the design's purview, the board up here comes and we deliberate and then we give suggestive measures for future hearing. The idea is that those elements get done, or at least attempted. I think the two-story atrium was not attempted at all. It's the same elevation as the December 11th. That's what I see from the drawings. I think there were some elements that you did attempt, which we can appreciate, adding some of the stone features to the home and some of the other elements that were discussed in the first hearing. So we appreciate the first attempt. I think that from my thoughts, if the applicant's open to it, I think we should look to do a third hearing. And I would encourage the applicant to look at the first meeting and also take the review from the elements here today. If of course you would be open to a third hearing, but I'd like to hear the other board members' deliberations first. MJ?
Yeah, thanks for your efforts to date. I think what I struggle with here is neighborhood compatibility again. I'm not as concerned about the atrium, although I think it is not compatible in the area, but if the other elements of the articulation and materials supported it in a way that could marry it into the neighborhood, I could find my way there. But I feel like what I'm looking at here is a mixture of architectures that are not compatible with the look and feel of the various homes in Laguna. We have a lot of variety, but they're pretty consistent in their commitment to style, whether it's cottage, contemporary, farmhouse. And this feels like it's not, with your material changes, the use of them on this appears to have been sort of a small measure rather than a real concept. So I feel like we're missing it for the design integrity here. there's just an imbalance. The landscaping, I think you came a long way on, and to soften the feel as you come from Linden or High, to create an actual environment rather than just a grassy knoll. You actually have built something lovely with your landscaping. I think your stepping stones and the actual pathway into the house work. I feel the pathway into the house feels a little heavy, but I can give you that in the sense that you are going to work it down the hill. And I think once you actually get into building, it's not going to feel as heavy as what's articulated here on your plan, on your renderings. The fencing for the front on Linden, the composite, it's a mismatch with your home in the contemporary home. So I'm struggling with that. Again, just the overall design integrity, neighborhood compatibility feels inconsistent with new builds and remodels in Laguna. So I would look at that, and I think being more consistent with materials. For instance, you have your halfway sticking stone, and then you kind of put it in between a window. It feels like you need to make a commitment to that stone. If you're going to make it a statement as opposed to just an added material. But that's all your world and your client's world to determine. But I would consider kind of tightening all that up and reevaluating some of those materials.
Thank you. Thank you, MJ. Louis, do you want to chime in?
Sure. So appreciate the comments of the board. Peggy, I really appreciate the work on this. There are some positive improvements that you guys have really tried to bring forward. But like Chair Boucher said, there's still some elements that I'm kind of concerned with. If I talk about in the structure, I do second Amir, board member or Chair Boucher's comment that the atrium does have like a sense of overbuild to the front of that. And I think we could still work to get you your high ceilings and whatnot, but I think you got to soften that view from Linden a little bit, because it just looks a little imbalanced as you're looking from left to right. It kind of goes slow rise, and then it just really kind of pops up. And I don't think that has the characteristics within the Linden Street or some of the High Drive neighborhood compatibility components. As far as the High Drive side of the house, I do appreciate that you've added some additional materials to kind of soften it and break it up. However, I still think there's some long, expansive, single textured walls on the upper levels as it wraps around the back of the property. I think I believe that area needs some articulation to give it a better enhancement, as this is a very visible side of the house. Obviously, what you're drawing and kind of heading to working towards is a vast improvement from the structure in its current form. So I'm willing to work, but I do want to see some more articulation on that side. As far as the sidewalk, I think it's something that just needs to be, it absolutely needs to be done. On the other side of the alley, it's complete as a sidewalk. Granted, it's a little more narrow, which I believe we can work with on the narrowness of it, but I think there does need to be that path for the safety component, especially on the rise of the High Drive side. So just because Public Works said it was fine, I think the board has the purview, and it's well within the scope of the design review criteria to look at the overall public safety and the pedestrian scale of the High Drive side of this project. As far as the fencing that's along the Linden side, I think 4 feet's excessive and it's not compatible. As I go up and down the street, there is some fencing, but most are more decorative and low in nature, or they incorporate, more stone and components that bring in features from the house to that front entrance feature, or if there is a gate, it can be there, but I think this has been done too minimalistically that I really need you to take a look up and down the street to try to find that balance. And maybe the right balance is to be done with like low hedges to create your fencing scape where there should be some landscape components to create that privacy or that buffer that you're looking for within the design. But that's not compatible to me as drawn. As far as the garage access, that was something we were talking about. Yes, the preferred is to go to the alley. I understand this isn't a major remodel, so I'm not gonna force that. The historical access can be worked with in the way you're doing it. But as you work in that component of the sidewalk, I really want to make sure that turnability into this alley gets more improved, because right now there's some retaining walls that are kind of birching out into the right of way on the high drive side. So I really need to take a closer look at that corner and that approach into the alley to maintain that access for those other property owners that use the alley. The trash enclosure, moving it to the side yard, I think it was a much better choice than leaving it right in the middle of the front yard. As long as it can be done in a way that doesn't hurt the tree. I actually thought it was relatively clever that it kind of tucked around the tree. But I do want to make sure that trees' health does maintain its trunk and can continue being a tree. So for me, there's definitely some more work that needs to be done. I think we're close. I really do want to support this project, but these final touches are key to finishing off this project.
Thank you, Louis. Debbie?
Yes, and I concur with, this is the first time that I'm seeing this, and it was very helpful to hear my colleagues' comments from your first hearing. Many of the comments I certainly agree with. I think that you can do so much with materials, and I think that you're on the right track with that as far as making that those long, broad, walls, breaking it up. You can really achieve a lot of articulation with materials, and I think that you've started to do that. I think you need to do that more in order to achieve the type of effect that that my colleagues are talking about, particularly on the high street side, because when you drive by that side, it's very monotone looking. The landscaping looks beautiful on that side, and I think the fencing does look a little out of place when it switches to this very, very light colored wood, and it could be just the visuals for that we're seeing here. Maybe it's not quite as stark as it looks, but perhaps doing something with stone or with more of the landscaping stone mixture, the way you have done on High Drive, I think would be a very nice addition. When you drive or walk down Linden, you see more of that type of an impact as far as neighborhood compatibility, more with the use of plantings and more natural materials looking like that. We've talked about the landscaping and the lighting piece. The one comment about the garage, I don't have any problem with the location of the garage. It looks as though your garage, that you're wanting one of those, the window type garage, not a solid garage. And should you decide to do that, then I would request that the lighting inside the garage is on an automatic, so that you don't have that glow like constantly, that you put it on an automatic timer or something, so that because there've been a lot of issues with that. If the light's left on, then you have a beacon, all night long. And I think everything else has been mentioned. We talked about the trash and working with staff to try to be sure and protect that tree, and maybe work with that and work with the materials as far as decomposed granite rather than a lot of concrete and that kind of stuff, so that you can be satisfied that your plants will thrive. And those are all my comments. but I would support a third hearing as well.
Thank you, Debbie. Peggy, you have the option to either hear a vote here tonight or proceed with the third hearing. It sounds like most of my board members are open to hearing a third hearing with the requested modifications made.
Yes, I would like to present some my concerns. I appreciate all your comments and suggest advice to improve our design. But regarding the material on the elevation, actually we try to introduce as much as we can, but we don't think the more materials means better appearance. Because we have the stone veneer, stucco, and iron, wrought iron.
Peggy,
guardrail.
sorry, I'm
So that-
gonna step in here. I appreciate the comments. I think we were just looking for either, would you like a vote or a third hearing? What you can do after this hearing, you could work with Jessica to incorporate the comments and review the comments made here today. I don't necessarily think we can direct you in your design. All we can do is make our suggestions to meet the 16 criteria. Currently, it sounds like there is a majority that don't believe that is going to be made here tonight. So we're suggesting a third hearing if you're open to it. But if you're not open to it, then we would vote on the current set of plans that are here tonight. So you have two options, third hearing or a vote.
May I, because the owner also have their concerns, so probably we will have some
Unfortunately,
feedback.
unfortunately, you can't.
The hearing, we present the owner's comments or.
Yeah, unfortunately, you had comments in the beginning of the meeting of this particular, during the applicant team process, you had 5 minutes, and then you were given 2 minutes for a rebuttal. You had a total of 7 minutes to present your concerns. I don't think anything that we discussed here today was new from the last hearing that I'm aware of, outside of Debbie's comments, which were consistent with much of the board. So what I'm trying to ask you is, would you like for us to vote or would you like a third hearing? That's all I need an answer to.
So if the members vote, what will be the next?
Yeah, so the comments were very consistent. I'll read you a list of comments. Pedestrian access sidewalk needs to be presented. There needs to be a lighting plan associated with the landscape plan that is accurate. It sounds like there's some discrepancies on locations of trees that are existing. The 2-story atrium does not meet the design integrity. There was, it doesn't meet the neighborhood compatibility. There was design integrity concerns pertaining to some of the material selections. There was direction to look at it from the elevation along hill. There's a lot of plain granular plain faced locations along High Drive. Sorry. What else? Did I miss anything?
The Linden fence.
Yeah, the fencing, material selection, but also in the height needs to be looked at and
incorporate landscaping.
And incorporate landscaping, and then ensure that the trees would not be removed at that location. So those are kind of the general comments, but the home needs to be neighborhood compatibility. It needs to meet the 16 criteria. So.
Okay. Can I say something about the high entrance? Because you see the.
Unfortunately not, Peggy. I think we've been very clear on the entrance.
We really want to maintain the entrance because it is.
Yeah, you run the risk of getting a board to vote no on that. It sounds like, there were elements to that aren't neighborhood compatible. So yeah, I would encourage you to review this hearing, review last hearing, and take a walk around the area on High Drive, review the homes in that area. If you walk it, you'll see there are no two atrium homes in that area. So I encourage you to do that before next hearing and make the adjustments. If you're open to a third hearing, you don't have to have a third hearing. You can ask for a vote. So that's kind of where we're at now. I'd appreciate it if you give me a clear answer on would you like a vote or would you like to? You can
let me
confirm
ask
with your,
the
yeah,
owner.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
Chair, you might want to ask staff, you know, how far out or what's the next availability for them?
投票呢，还是我们再做第三次？
What would be, Bill, what would be the next potential hearing
So-
date?
Excuse me, may I have
Sure.
a question? So what if you vote for no for or design? What will be the next? What will be the
Jane?
sequence?
So there are two options. The design review board it sounds like there's consensus where if you do not want to go to the third hearing, there'd be a vote to close the public hearing and direct staff to prepare a resolution to deny the project. And then at that point in time, after the design review board adopted that resolution, you could submit an appeal to the city council, and then the city council can consider the project. Or you can ask for a continuance this evening, and then do some redesigning of your project, and then bring it back to another board meeting at a future date.
Oh, okay. 听懂吧？就是如果他们说那个的话，我们就得重新申请，还得或者说上诉，那现在只能是第三次了。
Yeah.
但是我刚刚跟他解释，我都没说完，他就打断我。我觉得要不就我们这样子，就是我们申请第三次，然后会后我们再整理的意见，然后再回复他们看可不可以。对对对对。Oh, okay. So we would like to pick the third design review meeting.
You'd like to go for a
Yeah,
third
yeah,
hearing?
yeah.
Okay. So, go ahead, Bill.
So just to look forward for some dates, from my assessment, it sounds like we have still quite a bit of work to do. I would say while we do have some open meetings in the near future, I think a more realistic date is probably in the October timeframe. Plans to reach the October 8th hearing date would be due back to us in their complete condition by August 19th. So that would give us about 5 to 6 weeks or so to work with the applicant and try and resolve all the issues that have been raised, and then obviously go through our routing of those plans and staff report preparation again.
So Peggy, the first available hearing date is October 8th, but that would require you to have all of the plans submitted to the city and approved by August 19th. Do you want to push that back further? Is that enough time?
Mhm.
That's enough time?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion? I guess I'll make a motion to continue item number 5.2, design review 2025-0875 for the site located at 19 High Drive to a third hearing date of October 8th, 2026. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Sarah, please call the roll.
Board Member Coveney,
Yes.
Board Member Weil,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Neve,
Yes.
Chair Bauta.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on from regular business, we'll move to other business.
Excuse me, Chair. I was just
Yeah.
going to say that you might ask the applicant that or suggest that if the applicant would like to reach out to any of the board members independently, that she could do that.
Yeah, Peggy, I'd encourage you to reach out to the board members. You know, if you wanted to send something to us, you have our contact information. We'd be happy to work with you. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Moving on to other business. Do we have any other business?
We do, just a couple of points. First, foremost, your regularly scheduled July 9th DRB meeting will be canceled. So the next time we will convene will be on July 23rd at 5 PM in these chambers. Also want to just give a heads up to the board that earlier this week at the city council meeting, the council did receive an introduction and did introduce for first reading the design efficiency ordinance.
Awesome.
So that will be coming back to the city council on July 21st, I believe it is, for second reading and consideration of adoption and a potential urgency ordinance as well.
I watched that meeting. It was great feedback, and thank staff for putting in the no rooftop decks. I know that I was pretty adamant about that, so thank you on that. And I'm excited to hear about how it might proceed regarding some of the AI issues. I heard that presentation as well. I know that that's very exciting. So
That's all from staff.
Thank you, Bill. This meeting will be adjourned to regular scheduled design reward meeting of on July 23rd, 2026 at 5 PM. Thank you, and all have a great evening.
Hey, staff, happy 4th.
USA.
So yes.
Go
Go
USA.
USA tonight. It's going to start in 20 minutes.
I know.
Bye, guys.